Editing together yesterday's video, I have to say I really did not do a good job of capturing just how rough that was. The climbs were steep, and you're up around 10K, so you start feeling them a little more. Bigger thing was just the trail. It had short sections where it was reasonable and I could just hike, but there were long sections where I was looking for the trail, climbing over blowdowns, things like that. And that damn aspen forest route coming off of, I think, West Blue, it dropped down, and there was a trail that was there. There was a bunch of growth that had come up since the fire. And there were multiple times where I was just basically going through a forest of sticks just trying to get down. Once I hit Water Canyon, everything got good, and I was just flying. That's the only reason I made my mileage yesterday. I really can't wait to fill Socorro. There's a Walmart there, and I should finally be able to replace this filter. It has been rather slow. Yeah, that was smoke yesterday. I can smell it, and you can see the haze. So I'm starting to suspect my toe issues may be shoe related. There's some extra material on the tongue that I think may be rubbing. All I can do is kind of loosen and tighten to play with how it fits, but it lines up pretty much exactly with the problem spots. So looking at the map today, it looks like it's going to be one big climb basically up to Grassy Lookout, at which point I'm on a forest road over to Worthington, whatever it is, and then down another canyon. That canyon is known to be flood and fire damaged. There is an alternate, but it's not vetted, so it seems like a crapshoot. I am also high and dry today. This is the last on-trail water source for basically until I'm descending on the far side. I tend to struggle to get a lot of water down first thing in the morning. That was why my initial plan was to camp a couple of miles back there, and then I'd be getting to this spring after I'd already, warmed up, started sweating, and got thirsty. But that didn't work out. So water-wise, I've got my full 2.5 liters, making up for that food weight I've eaten down over the last couple of days, I guess. At one point yesterday when I was around those burned aspens, I'd swear I heard voices, so it's possible Sprouts and Mustard passed me. I've been going kind of slow through this rough section, versus Santa Teresa's was probably harder, less gain, but more cross country. And yet at that point I was on Fist of an Angry God mode and hit that section very aggressively. So I've been dragging moderately the last couple of days, just with how rough they were. If I get to Socorro and I feel like I can spare the time, I may zero. I know I'll be able to get into a hotel there, so at least I'll be able to have, a nice reset. Not that Winston didn't get everything done, but holing up in a hotel, eating pizza, etc., is kind of my go-to reset out here. I have been roughly estimating a finish on Memorial Day weekend sometime. My ideal, kind of just eyeballing it, is Friday the 26th. And I've let my parents know. They're gonna probably come down to Albuquerque, grab me, bring me back to Colorado Springs, where then I'll get to spend a couple of days recovering before I gotta start paddling for a living. The way I'm estimating is basically my mileage spreadsheet has a column titled goal, and I increment that by 15 miles a day from wherever I start in the morning. So if I go over and I do 18 miles, I do 15 from where I made it, not where I was supposed to get to. So that way I can gain slowly. I like the 15 miles a day estimate for a trail like this, just because when the trail gets straightforward, I can exceed it, but I'm not regularly falling behind. I made that mistake near the northern end of the PCT, where I'd been doing 25 miles a day pretty regularly, and then Jen and I made a relatively conservative estimate based on that, and then things changed. And I just kept seeing myself get further and further behind without the realistic ability to make the time up. And we had rented an Airbnb because she came up to meet me at the northern end, and we ended up having to cancel that. It was really nice to see her up there. She came and met me, but it really wasn't worth the stress. I know there are people out there that have to schedule their hike so they finish on a certain day due to visas and flights and things, but they're better than me at this. When I was on the ECT, the one thing I was trying to do around Katahdin was make sure I wasn't there on Labor Day weekend. And guess what I hit squarely? At a certain point, trying to push for more miles at the end of the day is diminishing returns. You know, you slow down, and plus, if you're nursing some sort of an injury, I've had the last couple hours of the day do the majority of the damage and set me back. So, again, these days I just kind of try and roll with whatever's going to happen. And my biggest thing is trying not to be tied down to any given date. Fun times. Already had to stop and tape up another toe. Between that and the pokies coming in through my back, kind of hard to hit my hiker's end this morning. So I'm guessing that's grassy lookout, meaning that's where I'm headed. Well, that was a fun climb. So back in 2009, 2010, I actually volunteered in a fire lookout for 2 summer seasons. It's a lot of fun, but I just couldn't spare the time anymore. But so I've been trained on Osborne firefinders and all of that. The one I worked on was Tequeets up above Idlewild. We didn't have an outhouse. Okay, I'm totally not taking that Gatorade, but that is tempting. So I went over figuring I'd chat with the host when I saw the vehicle. Just somebody camping up here. And his dog does not care for me. The guy mentioned that his dog's pretty young. Only time he's had issues with it being aggressive was me and somebody who came by yesterday, basically dressed the same, trekking poles, hood, hat, yada yada. He did top off my water, which was a nice touch. The rain cistern at the lookout isn't hooked up, so, which I expected. The Get Water guy mentioned it. So next water is all the way on the other side of this road, on whichever descent canyon I decide to take. The main route is listed as scenic but damaged. The other one is listed as unvetted but avoids the worst of the burn. So they're within a couple of miles of each other, so I still haven't decided. And there's that smoke I was seeing last night, I guess. Okay, I'm committed to Potato Canyon now. A few more road miles, and then supposedly Potato gets better further down you go, kind of like last night. I was just looking ahead and looks like some nice long water carries. 20 miles with marginal sources. Well, there's where the smoke's coming from. So unfortunately my toes seem to be having the same issue that I was having pre-Safford. I've been playing around with tape and loosening and tightening my shoes, but so far no luck. You'd think I'd be better at this, huh? Was also able to check the weather, and it does look like rain and thunderstorms are likely tomorrow, which will actually work out because I have to do a crossing between the two mountain ranges, so I'll be low and the water sources are kind of limited. Wow, never mind the fire. Cool rock. Okay, side of Withington. I'm taking Potato Trail down, which reportedly is in bad shape for a while. With my feet not doing great, my goal is just going to be make it down to water and make sure I get my minimum mileage in. There's a waypoint that says the trail through here was obliterated, so I'm expecting fun. So here's my route down, and then I assume that's the Magdalena Range over there. Okay, guess this counts as obliterated. So I found at least one other set of footprints going down the same way. Theoretically, it'll turn into a trail or something at some point. Well, despite my best attempts, feet are just going downhill, so it's going to be get down to water and set up camp. Not a whole hell of a lot else I can do. Part of me is thinking it may just be the shoes are a little too narrow. I seem to always have to fiddle around with them. And I have been using topos through all the trips this year, I think, all of which have had minor foot issues well into each section. But this is just really frustrating, especially considering I've got, 60 miles and another mountain range to my nearest option to get off my feet. And based on what I've seen so far, I need to take a 0. I don't know that I have the food, etc. to do that here. So the old track for the trail goes over there somewhere. But like I said, I am seeing footprints, and this seems like the path of least resistance, at least for now. Well, that was fun. This could get interesting. So far, so good. I finally got lowered down low enough where I found some pools of water. So I'm going to fill everything and try and set up on the vegetation over there. Not really ideal, especially since the sand I'm on is that really ashy stuff that just gets everywhere, but I need to stop. I need to get off my feet. I need to let this heal. To say I'm highly frustrated here would be a pretty vast understatement, but I'm not sure what else I can do for the moment. It might just be the shoes are too narrow for me. Could be there's an issue with this particular pair of shoes, but so far every attempt I've made to fix it has not worked out.